go. And it looked like Kelsey Mitchell is in some serious hot water yet again. Guys, for this one here.
Kelsey Mitchell decided to throw a little shade, and fans didn't miss a second of it. Every word was caught, replayed, and dissected. But now the big question looms. Will she regret it? Especially with names like Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham now part of the conversation. Was Kelsey just hyping up her own team? Or did she step over the line into disrespect? Mitchell has been with the Indiana Fever long before they were grabbing headlines. She stuck it out through the tough seasons, the empty arenas, and the years when nobody even blinked at what the Fever were doing. That kind of loyalty deserves respect. But here's the catch. Being the longest tenured player doesn't automatically give you free reign to say whatever you want without backlash. And that's exactly what happened when Kelsey dropped her line. We all we got, we all we need. Simple words, but loaded with controversy.
She's been here for the good, the bad, the ugly, and pretty much ever since the team been trashed. Now, ever since Caitlin has got to the team, ever since Caitlin has joined the team, the Indiana Fever has grown notoriety across the world. They is the hottest WNBA team in the country and pretty much one of the biggest teams in all of sports. With all of that being said, Kelsey Mitchell has been taking it upon herself to kind of say little things. And
at first glance, it might seem like typical locker room hype. Teams throw out lines like this all the time, but context changes everything. Kelsey herself revealed that this mantra came about after Caitlin Clark suffered her injury, and that's exactly where the problem starts.
Kelsey, one of your teammates said yesterday that you started saying in the huddles, we're all we got, we all we need.
Yeah, I said we all we got, we all we need, yeah.
How did that kind of come about, and do you remember when you started sharing that message?
Probably, it might have been after somebody got hurt. I won't even lie to you. It was early on. I think it was when CC got hurt, and I felt like it was deflating. It was hard for people to kind of see us and see our energy for what we brought to the table as a team. Hats off to CC for, being a great teammate and having to go through so much with injury. But, the all we got, all we need was just, it's a staple to who we're trying to be as a team and who we want our culture to be. We can't help the ones that's not here, which is unfortunate, but we can help who is. And be present about that and not disrespect the game because, I would like to think that CC, Aries, Sid would want to play and be in our shoes. And so I think the all we got, all we need is just, it's kind of like a respect thing, but to put it in the air that we all we got and we all we need.
Think about what that really suggests. When Caitlin Clark was sidelined, instead of showing support for her teammate and the team's future, Mitchell's rallying words basically came across as, she's out, but we don't need her anyway. Maybe Kelsey didn't intend it that way, but that's exactly how the fans interpreted it. And once something like that hits the public, you lose control of how the story spreads.
He's dissing Caitlin Clark, but a lot of people is insinuating that. Now, we have seen time and time again, members of her family even take shots at Caitlin Clark. Now, those are facts.
This isn't the first time the Mitchell family has found itself tangled in drama involving Caitlin Clark. A few months back, her relatives were online taking subtle shots, tweets, comments, little digs that fans immediately noticed. Now, hearing Kelsey herself echo a mantra tied to Clark's absence, people are connecting the dots, and it's not looking good for her. Here's the irony. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever wouldn't even be grabbing national attention. Mitchell has been dropping points for years, but those performances didn't trend on Twitter, didn't get ESPN segments, and didn't sell out arenas. Clark's presence changed the game. The Fever are now one of the hottest tickets in the WNBA, not because of their record, but because Clark is the star everyone wants to watch. And Sophie Cunningham's name keeps getting pulled into this as well. Fans are spotting a pattern. Mitchell isn't just shading Clark, she's taken subtle digs at other players who bring spotlight to the league. Sophie, for instance, has faced her share of criticism, but she leans into her role as a headline-grabbing, unapologetic physical player. Sound familiar? Just like Clark, she's loved by some, hated by others, but undeniably at the center of attention. So when Mitchell's comments come across as dismissive toward Clark, fans naturally lump Sophie into the mix. Both women endure heat for being the faces of their moment, facing online attacks, rough plays, and endless debates about their attitude. And instead of support from peers, sometimes they get shade. Now Mitchell finds herself facing the same charge, tearing others down instead of building up.
Through all the ups and downs of this season, and I know you have bigger goals in mind, but the team ensured a 500 finish, back-to-back years doing that. I mean,
it's a big deal.
Right, given everything that this team has gone through this year, and the fact that you guys, I think, are one win away from securing a playoff spot, like, what did it take to kind of stay the course? And what does that mean to just at least get that one thing kind of checked off?
It's definitely a stepping stone in the right direction. I think considering where this organization has been and some of the great players that's come through it, we got to look at this, like I said, for a winning moment tonight. It doesn't happen a lot, and where we've been at, you guys know what it's been like the last couple of years here, and so to see the tables kind of turn, it works in our favor, and I think that we deserve it from a standpoint of we put the work in to be here, and so I like to think that you guys gonna keep sticking with us too, because you guys deserve it. In order to capture good content and all that, you got to win, and so I think it goes together as far as both sides, but I think it's definitely important for us to kind of bask in it for a little bit, because I remember where this group was.
Let's be honest, Kelsey Mitchell is a scorer. She can put the ball in the basket with consistency few can match. But scoring alone doesn't make you a leader. Leadership is about seeing the bigger picture. When you drop a line like, "We all we got, we all we need," the moment a teammate goes down, it reads less like unity and more like subtraction. That's where instant regret hits, because the fans are not letting this slide. The Fevers rise. That's Caitlin Clark. Whether Mitchell likes it or not. The TV ratings, Clark sold out arenas, Clark jerseys flying off shelves. Clark Mitchell can drop 28 points, and most people won't notice until someone posts the stat sheet. Clark hits 15 with a couple of highlight threes, and it's viral in minutes. This isn't a knock on Mitchell, it's just reality, but instead of embracing that and finding ways to elevate herself and the team, Mitchell's words read as resentment. Fans hear her mantra and sense she doesn't value what Clark brings, and once that perception takes hold, the narrative writes itself. Sophie Cunningham knows this all too well. She's been cast as the league's villain, dirty, cocky, unfiltered. Anytime she's physical, her name trends. But she doesn't flinch. She owns it. She thrives in the chaos. And now, because Mitchell's comments carry that same dismissive vibe, fans are drawing the same comparisons. Here's the harsh truth. The Fever need both Mitchell and Clark to coexist if they want to win. It's not about who scores more or who shines brighter. It's about balance. Mitchell's scoring plus Clark's playmaking could be unstoppable, but every dig, subtle or not, makes that chemistry harder to build. Meanwhile, Cunningham would probably laugh at all this. She's been through it, survived it, and even benefited from it. But Mitchell, she's visibly uncomfortable when the spotlight turns negative. And now, thanks to that "we all we need" mantra, she's trapped in it. The kicker, the Fever didn't exactly dominate without Clark. Sure, they scraped together wins, but if your rally cry is "we don't need her," you better back it up with undeniable dominance. Otherwise, the message falls flat, and fans notice. The problem, the team hasn't been consistent. That makes Mitchell's words land even worse. If you're going to claim you don't need Clark, you better back it up with dominant wins. Otherwise, you're just handing critics fuel. It's almost ironic. The same players who roll their eyes at Clark's spotlight don't realize how much they benefit from it. Without Clark, nobody would even be talking about Mitchell's comments. Her words would vanish into the background. But with Clark shining, every phrase gets amplified, and that's the cost of fame. When you're on her team, you share that spotlight, whether you like it or not. Here's where the regret hits hard. Mitchell likely never imagined fans turning on her over a simple locker room line, but once the context tied it to Clark's injury, the narrative shifted. Suddenly, she's not a veteran motivating her squad. She's a seasoned player dismissing the very person who made the Fever a national story. And that look, it's bad. Throw Sophie Cunningham into the mix, and it gets messier. Soph has spent her entire career navigating disrespect, proving doubters wrong, and owning the narrative. Fans are now drawing parallels. Mitchell is doing to Clark what others have done to Sophie. That's not the image of a leader you want circulating. Here's the reality. Mitchell doesn't have to love Clark. She doesn't even have to be best friends with her, but she must respect what Clark brings to the team. Without her, the Fever are just another small market franchise fighting for attention. With her, they're a national story. Cunningham serves as a cautionary tale. No matter how good she plays, people often focus on her attitude more than her stats. If Mitchell isn't careful, she could end up in the same position, and she might not even realize it until it's too late. The fallout doesn't stop at the press conference. Once the clip of Mitchell saying, "we all we got, we all we need," hit social media, fans dissected every word. When Clark's name got tied to it, the debate exploded. Some defended Mitchell, saying it was just locker room hype. Others saw it as undeniable shade, a sign of jealousy in Indiana's locker room. And that's the crux. Perception matters far more than intention. Maybe Mitchell meant no harm. Maybe it was just a standard line to to fire up her teammates. But when Clark's involved, perception is everything. Fans aren't giving the benefit of the doubt when they think their star is being disrespected, and that's where the regret kicks in. Mitchell knows she can't outshine Caitlin Clark in the media. Sure, she can drop points on the court from time to time, but when it comes to attention and headlines, Clark dominates. Every press conference, every ESPN highlight, every debate show, it's all about Clark. When Mitchell tries to push her own narrative, it's immediately measured against Clark's spotlight, and she ends up looking smaller by default. Sophie Cunningham comes into this conversation for a similar reason. She's been through the same cycle, booed, criticized, called dirty, but she's learned to turn disrespect into motivation. Mitchell hasn't quite mastered that yet. Instead of using Clark's shine to elevate herself, she's trying to carve her own lane, which makes it seem like she's tearing others down in the process. This isn't a new story in sports. Veterans get overshadowed when a flashy new star arrives. Pride gets bruised, feelings get hurt, and suddenly every word is under a microscope. Mitchell has been the reliable scorer for years, but Clark has brought a cultural shift that fans rally around. Viral highlights and game-changing energy grab attention in ways consistent scoring never will, and Cunningham is a perfect example of the league's narrative machine. Play with an edge, and suddenly you're the villain. Now, Mitchell risks being labeled the jealous teammate, and once a perception sticks, it's nearly impossible to shake. Sophie knows that better than anyone. The irony, the Fever desperately need Clark. Without her, games don't sell out. Without her, national media ignores them. Without her, the team is just another small market rebuild trying to stay relevant. Mitchell, who's been through all the ups and downs, should understand this. Yet her comments suggest the opposite, that the Fever don't need Clark to succeed. And that's a bold claim, considering the numbers tell a completely different story. The team didn't suddenly become competitive because of Mitchell alone. Their rise coincided with Clark's arrival and the franchise building a roster around her. Mitchell has benefited from Clark's spotlight too. Her scoring got noticed by more people, her game earned national respect, and her name carried more weight across the league. If she can't see that, she's missing the bigger picture. Sophie Cunningham knows exactly what happens when you miss that perspective. She's faced disrespect from fans, media, and opponents countless times. But she doesn't complain. She turns that heat into fuel. Mitchell could learn from that approach. Instead of dismissing Clark, she could embrace the fact that Clark actually amplifies her own visibility. Instead of brushing off Cunningham as just another player, she could recognize the value in Soph's experience navigating scrutiny. The longer this tension drags on, the worse it gets for Mitchell. Once fans turn against you, it's nearly impossible to win them back. Every future quote becomes evidence of jealousy. Every game is dissected for signs of friction. Every stat is compared to Clark's, even when Mitchell is playing at her best. At this point, it's not about numbers, it's about perception. Clark doesn't have to say a word. Fans defend her automatically. Cunningham doesn't have to say a word. The fans already understand her role. Mitchell, however, is forced into defense because her own words opened a door that didn't need to exist. That's the kind of regret that lingers long after the soundbite fades. The league moves fast. One moment of shade can follow you for years. Just ask Sophie. Every hard foul, every shove under the basket gets tied to her reputation as a dirty player. Fair or not, that's the label she carries. Mitchell risks being tagged as the jealous veteran who didn't appreciate what Caitlin Clark brings to the team. And once that label sticks, rewriting it is almost impossible. The Fever need leadership, not division. They need Mitchell to rise as the veteran who guides Clark through the highs and lows of the league. They need her to embrace the spotlight instead of resenting it. They need to see that walking Sophie Cunningham's path, hated but unbothered, isn't necessarily the example Mitchell wants to follow. Instant regret hits when Mitchell sees how fans responded. She has to realize the fallout is real. And the truth, she could have avoided all of this with a simpler mantra, something like, "We're together," or "Next woman up." But tying it directly to Clark's injury made it sound like subtraction rather than unity. That's the mistake. That's where the regret cuts the deepest. Kelsey Mitchell probably thought her "we all we got, we all we need" mantra was harmless. The reaction proves otherwise. Fans aren't letting the shade slide, especially with Clark and Cunningham in the mix. Respect matters, and Mitchell's words missed the mark. The question now, can she rebuild trust with fans, or is this label gonna stick?